This lesson demonstrates motion through the Flash Professional timeline. So we have a number of different assets already prepared on our stage, and we can see in the timeline that we have an actions layer, a player layer, which is this little ball here, a hill, and a background. So what we're going to do is do a quick introduction where we have a pullback of this hill, and then the player will emerge on the scene, roll down here, and then jettison off. So the first thing we'll do is actually just lock down the player layer. So I have all my layers locked, and then we're going to toggle the visibility of the player off. The reason we're toggling visibility is so that we can focus on the element that we want to actually animate, which is the hill. So let's select the hill layer, and we'll also unlock that layer so that we can manage the elements on it. So this is still a simple shape. So what we need to do in order to make it something that's more animatable is to create a movie clip symbol out of this. So we're going to go to Modify, Convert to Symbol. And I'll just call this movie clip symbol hill. And what we'll do is we'll expand both the hill and the background across our timeline here. So let's go out to maybe 90 seconds. And we're going to unlock the background layer as well. So what we need to do is expand our frames out to frame 90. So how would we do that? We can go into the Insert menu, choose Timeline, and Frame. So we can see here that this has actually expanded our frames across to 90 frames. So starting off at 1, going all the way to 90. You'll notice though that if I toggle the player visibility back on, that the player just goes away after frame 1 because we haven't expanded that yet. But that's okay. So what we need to do now is to lock down the background layer once again, because we're not actually going to animate that at all. And we're going to click on our hill, and if we right click, we get a little context menu here in which we can create a motion tween. So let's do that, create motion tween. And now our timeline layer here shows up as blue, which indicates a motion tween. So what we'll do here is we're going to start off at this frame here, and we're just gonna kind of push that guy out a little bit, go in about 30 frames, and then reset him. I'm just using the keyboard to move this, little arrow keys. We could always use the properties inspector or something else if we wanted to. So we can see that now we have motion happening from frame 1 to frame 30, where the camera sort of pans over this little cliff face here. We can also see the motion here that's gone along with our motion tween. So all good indicators. All right, so at this point, we're going to go to perhaps frame 40, and let's toggle our player layer back on, and we'll expand that layer out as well. So I just use the shortcut key right there for expanding the layer, but you could of course also go to Insert, Timeline, Frame once again, and the shortcut key on Windows to insert frames is F5. So now I've got my player here, and what I need to do is a few different things. I'm going to actually create this player as a movie clip, just like I did before. So we're going to modify, convert to symbol, and I'm going to simply call this player. There we go. So now he's a movie clip symbol. Next, I'm going to move him up here, just off screen. I'll create, again, do a right click and create a motion tween on this layer. So now it's a motion tween, but I haven't actually created any motion yet. So what I'll do is go to about frame 40, and all I need to do is just kind of tweak this guy a little bit. So I just use the arrow keys to go forward and back, and that created a little keyframe here for me. And this is going to be sort of my start of this animation. So maybe I'll go to frame 70 and move this guy out to the edge of the cliff. So if we want to preview this, we can scrub, and we can see, well, it's not exactly perfect. So let's move that down a little bit. And we want to have that ball line up with the cliff face, which now it does. So that's perfect. Anytime we want to test our movie, we can go in and do a control, test movie, test, or control enter. All right, so that timing is pretty good. Next, what we want to do is have the ball sort of accelerate as it goes down this cliff face and jettison off into the sky. So what we'll do is perhaps move this all out to about 150 frames, and I'll hit the shortcut key again to add frames to this, which is F5 on Windows. And what we'll do is I want him to pause here for a little bit. So let's go to frame 80, and I'll just make a quick little keyframe there. And all I did to make that is just to hit the arrow key. I just hit the left and then the right, and that automatically is going to insert a keyframe for us. And at this point, I need him to go down this little ramp here. So to do that, I'm going to do a number of things. The first one is I'm going to have him sort of move over the edge here. So when he does that, I want it to be sort of slow. Okay, that's good. And then when he goes actually over the edge, I want this to sort of pick up. But how are we going to do this? I'm going to move this guy right here. And we can see that, well, you know, the animation right now, he doesn't actually move down along with this curve. He's just sort of going in a straight line. So to fix that, we can actually grab this guide here and simply do something like that. And I just have the selection tool. So that provides us with this sort of motion guide that we can use to have him accelerate down that hill. Once he's there, I want him to careen off into space. And at that point, I can do something like this, move him way over here. So I probably want to do the same thing here that I did over here, which is to create this sort of motion guide in order to do something like this. Let's actually move him way over here. All right, great. So what's actually happening off stage doesn't really matter because nothing shows up in the pasteboard area here, in the work area. So if we go and test this now, so if I go Control, Test Movie, Test, we can check out our timing here. All right, pretty good. The one thing I want to have happen a little better is for when he goes down this little cliff face, I want him to accelerate. So in order to do that, I'm going to change the easing between these keyframes here. And to do that, we go right here to the ease of the motion tween in the properties panel, and we can ease out or ease in. So what I'm going to do is actually ease in a little bit. And if I test again, you'll notice that we have a little more acceleration as he goes down there. There are also additional things that we could do to make this faster. We could adjust these keyframes and so forth. We could also do a number of tweaks in what's called the motion editor. And that's right here. So using the motion editor, we can apply different easing to our object. You can see all of the motion here, how it's working. We can actually go into any of these and make fine-tune adjustments to exactly what's happening with each of these properties. So if we had the time, we would probably want to go in here and make those adjustments instead of doing a universal ease as I just did. So this has been a demonstration of some quick animation within Flash Professional CS6.